under the, this is in the area where we lost the NEA, so I will do my best to answer all the questions that you may have. But as she left, she just kind of ended, the work that she, I mean, it's complete, but, just letting you know that I don't have a staffer that can take us, that step further should you have, need more detailed answers, but I'm happy to follow up. At any rate, Empowerment Congress Southwest Area Neighborhood Development Council is requesting a change to their structure by actually adding one seat. They're reshuffling seats, but this one is a board structure change where we're going up, which is not what you've been, typically what you've been seeing. So current board size is 12, they're requesting to go to 13. So they are proposing to change one organization representative board seat to a social media coordinator board seat. That would result in 2 organization representatives instead of 3, and increasing the at-large stakeholder board seat from 1 to 2, and thus increasing their board size. So if you approve the changes, their structure will be 3 homeowner representatives, 2 renter representatives, 2 business representatives, 1 organizational representative, 2 organizational representatives, and the one social media representative, 2 at-large representatives, and the youth representative.
Commissioner Grant, Commissioner Lippman.
Yeah, question, is the quorum going to change?
Not to my knowledge, but let me take a quick look. I'm sorry, I do have the draft on my phone. The quorum currently is 7. Yeah, I don't believe so. I think they will stay at 7. Yes, there is no change to the quorum.
What I'm trying to understand is what constituency does a social media representative represent? To be quite honest, I mean, if they need somebody to run their social media, this sounds like a job title, not an elected position. And what all people who are on Facebook vote for this? That seems very. I actually am not in favor. Even though I'm a social media kind of person, I don't think there's a board position that represents social media. It doesn't. It's not a stakeholder group unless Facebook has 1,000 people working in their neighborhood council.
I think essentially you are correct in that maybe it appears to be a title. The eligibility for people who can vote for the seat is a stakeholder who is 16 years of age at the time of the election. So it's pretty open. And there's, go ahead.
I would think if you just think of this as an outreach seat, or like, for instance, like Greater Echo Harbor Legion Neighborhood Council has a Chief Information Officer seat where all the stakeholders can run and vote, and their main duty is to get out the word about the neighborhood council and what they're doing.
I get that, and I know like Venice has a communications person, but that should either be appointed by the board themselves as like this is the coordinator for social media, or it should be a communications in general or outreach in general person. It just seems way too specific for that. I mean, I'm all for if they want to have a new outreach representative who chairs the outreach committee. I don't know. It just seems way too specific and doesn't represent a constituency. And the point is that these are supposed to represent specific constituencies within a neighborhood council, not.
But I believe, Commissioner, that a lot of what you're seeing, and I've said this before, is we are moving towards a more general category of stakeholders as opposed to those specific ones. I think that part of the reason why I believe that they find this change or proposing this change important too is that I think often you find South LA as a region, label in terms of not bridging the electronic, the digital gap. Thank you. And so I think this is a way for the group to kind of say, hey, listen, no, we're keeping up with the times, and they're so forward thinking that they do have a position that is essentially titled, to speaks to social media. And so I think it is about, self-governance, self-determination, and, I think as long as people are able to run for the seat and vote for the seat, it's, the department does find that it's an acceptable change.
Anybody else? Yeah, no. I mean, I do think it's a little odd the way it's titled, but I feel like we should give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of knowing their council, their constituency, and figuring out what their needs are. I just kind of push the boundaries to some extent so that they're prioritizing this skill and this activity on their board. I think it's worth a try. They can always come back and change it to something else next year if it doesn't work.
Right, and if I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and bear in mind that they're not switching out that position for something that you may think is more vital. They're adding.
Yeah.
So, like you said, if in the future you find that maybe you may want to ask them for a report back, I don't know, in 6 months, and see what the seat is exactly doing, and maybe it does serve as a best practice at some future point. I don't know, but there's just definitely they're going up and not down or trying to replace.
Right, and I mean, goodness knows, it's challenging this board structure in general, so to try different strategies to hit the sweet spot, I think is valuable, and again, this isn't excluding anyone. Commissioner Schaefer.
Just wanted to say, as they say, a rose by any other name is a rose. This has exactly the same voters and eligibility for running as their at-large. They're just coming up with a different name for some kind of at-large seat that they hope will interest somebody.
So, do we have a motion?
Yes, Commissioner Grant, I will make a motion to accept the bylaw changes for the Empowerment Conference Southwest Area Neighborhood Council as submitted.
Second by all in favor?
No, I'll say no.
Okay, thank God we have 5.
David's over there. That's all I care.
You gonna come up, and be part of the, you have a, so number 14 is a discussion of possible action for West Hills Neighborhood Council boundary adjustment application. You wanna, and then Glenn can do this. Okay.
So West Hills Neighborhood Council is requesting an overlap in boundaries with the Woodland Hills Wellness Center Neighborhood Council. This is a permissible overlap for the plan, Article 3, in that it is a library that they're sharing. The adjacent neighborhood council is okay with it. The applicant is, their logic is that they need obviously more space in their area to meet, and a library is one of those places that is just right. And then there's an additional posting place as well. So, there's no dissent in terms of the neighborhood councils. There's no argument as to how they're going to do it. However, we share the boundaries, so the department is in complete favor of the change. The description and the boundaries in their bylaws will stay the same, with the exception of that they're adding adding to the description letter E, which states, in addition, the West Hills Neighborhood Council and the Woodland Hills Water Center Neighborhood Council share jurisdiction over the property and grounds of the Platte Branch Library at 23600 Victory Boulevard, which is located south of the West Hills boundary.
Thank you.
Glenn Bailey, really quick. You have a email from Dan Brin, who's the president of West Hills. So I was approached by the leadership because I think they knew that Northridge, 2 years ago, for those of you who were on the commission, did the exact same thing where we had a library right at the boundary line, and we set it up as a shared facility for the exact same purposes. So they asked me for advice and assistance on how we did that, so I provided it, and it's all for the same reasons. I would point out that West Hills is a largely residential area. There are not a lot of other public facilities and meeting facilities, and also there is no other library in the community. This is the West Hills Library. It's just that it's not in West Hills, because Woodland Hills has its own library. So, but it just happens to be the way the boundary line finds. And I've been thinking about, for the valley, and as far as I can think, there's only 2 situations where there's a library right at the boundary lines that we do share. Hopefully with this we'll have captured the both, but if we figure out of any others, then maybe we'll alert those councils. Northridge South and Northridge East share the Northridge Library.
Okay, great. Do you want to do the motion? Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Grant, I would make a motion to accept the bylaws as changes as requested by West Hills Neighborhood Council.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Quickly.
That was an easy one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are you muted?
Yes, but I would like to see that something.
I don't think. Want to do that? Yeah. You can't wait like 2 minutes.
Okay, we're
5
good.
minutes.
All right.
Okay, so number 15, I think we were gonna take that off unless anybody else thinks.
Oh, just on number 15, just know that we will need to make that change to the July 7th date, or meeting date, no longer going to be required on the meeting deadlines.
Okay,
So I don't know if you want to make a motion just to,
do we need to make that? Or-
if you would change the rules of order.
Okay. So can we have a motion? Commissioner Grant?
Yes, Commissioner Grant, I'd like to make a motion to change the meeting location for our regular meeting on Tuesday, July 7th from what would have been the Northeast Valley area to Van Nuys City Hall.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Okay, so we have one public comment, William Kuzman on number 16, and then we'll be into commercial business.
First public comment on non-agenda items is regarding the regional grievance procedure and the appointment of only board members to the regional grievance panel. I have a problem with this. If a grievance is filed, it's filed against a board member. Good old boys like to stick together, so I do not feel like when a stakeholder files a grievance that's heard by board members, even though they not be board members on the board that might be subject to the grievance, they are still biased towards the system, and that any stakeholder panel should only be comprised of public stakeholders who are not board members, because that is the only jury of peers that could actually make a fair and unbiased decision on any grievance. Secondly, serial grievance restrictions. 3 in a calendar year, 5 in 2 calendar years, frivolous or not, doesn't matter. The Constitution guarantees the public the right to file grievances. And to restrict the right to file grievances my opinion and in the opinion of some attorneys I've talked to, is a violation of our constitutional rights. And just from my position as a stakeholder, you can have your serial restrictions. I find that most neighborhood councils don't know how to handle a grievance anyway, nor would I have confidence in a regional grievance panel at this point in time. So pretty much the best thing for the public to do is just file complaints. Now, the citywide plan says there's supposed to be a forum available for the stakeholders and the public to file a complaint. I have asked the NEA, I have asked the public records people at the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and nobody seems to be able to find this form. And it's not available on the Empower LA website. So I implore you, please, because the stakeholders now have to file complaints for a code of conduct that they can't file a grievance on, which I heard today, you need to have that form available for us to fill out. So please, it's a minor thing. And if you took care of just making sure that the neighborhood councils complied with the minimum agenda posting requirements, the minimum communication with the stakeholders, you'd make a big, huge step in shutting me down. Thank you.
Okay, so number 17, Commissioner of Business, Commissioner Medina, you wanna? Yes.
Commissioner Medina, after seeing all this bylaw amendments and changes, we had a discussion in previous weeks as far as youth, you know, how we're losing some of the youth. So hopefully, we can, in our next agenda, we can start a discussion on that because I am concerned that we're losing a lot of youth. I know we had a copy of it in the commission, but I want to see something within those regards. So hopefully, we can come up with something that all the NC committee will friends.
Commissioner Grant, I would like to add, as we discussed earlier, to start the discussion about the policy for meeting minutes to be added to the next agenda.
Okay. Any other commission business? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, please. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, we have one more.
Yes, I have a comment, and that is we're supposed to stay afterwards for a few minutes for budget.
Okay, thank you.
Reminding you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Lisa, can we stay here for the 15 minutes or do we have to?
First, I have to.
Jay, you're up.
Okay, here we go, real
No,
quick.
no, no, not yet. I'm gonna get it moved around.
What?
I'm gonna get it moved around.
My assignment, I know it, I'm gonna be here, so I'm always with the headed people that want to do their own thing.
So,
What's up?
I don't want to offend you or anything.
She had a great idea.
That's it.
She had a great idea. Great.
You have the 11, 12? I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. That we foolproof vesting.
God,
You know what I'm saying?
and he's gonna be here.
He's gonna be getting much to wait for the city.